Hi and welcome to Mike's Corner. So, not another AliExpress unboxing on this episode, but something slightly different. Now, I have previously had a look at crystal cases for Commodore 64s and kind of vintage stuff in the past, but here I have an Amiga 1200. So I've had this for quite some time now. I've got 3 of these, but this is my daily go-to machine, which has a PI accelerator in it as well. Now, as you can see, the keys are getting a bit yellowish over time. The case is pretty good though. But I wanted to modernize my daily Amiga 1200 with something slightly different. So, to that respect, I purchased 2 items. These are not sponsored in any way. And these are from A1200.net. And we've got a Amiga 1200 case, and we've got some keycaps as well. So without further ado, let's get unboxing! That was quite loud. Here we have the Amiga keycaps from A1200.net. So this is for the Mitsumi keyboard, which is pretty much standard on the majority of A1200s. Have a quick look around. We've got the UK layout here, and I don't think there's really much else to see on the box. There is not. We've got manufactured in China. That there's all different types of keycaps that they have available. That, as I said, this is not sponsored in any way at all, and this is all from a personal experience of using them as a company and purchasing them myself. So these did take an extremely long time to turn up. They were supposed to be in stock in the UK, but there was some logistics issues, and in the end they took about, I'd say about near on 2 months to get to me after purchasing them. This was me in communication with them to see what was going on quite often, because it was just like what was going on. But they have turned up, so here they are. So let's pop open the box and see what we've got. Right, so we've got, I didn't realise they come with the springs as well, so that's a nice touch. So some nice fresh springs. These are the little clips that go underneath the longer keys. So you have a metal bar that go underneath them, and these are the clips that clip into here so the metal bar can go on. So there's 2 space bars. So there's for the different versions of the keyboard. Some more of the little key bits. Right, so here's the keyboard. Let's pop this out and have a quick look. Oh, okay, so let's move that out of the way. So they've put it on this holding platform, which keep the keys all in, stops them from flying around. They're definitely not in alphabetical order in some of them. There's the V upside down here. There's all these around in different locations, but really that doesn't really matter. But yeah, let's pop one of these off and see what that looks like. So underneath you can see the mold marks as well. They're all black, so it's pretty hard to see, but we'll get some close-up shots of these. That you can see there's mold marks on there as well, and how it will fit on the actual keyboard. But they feel pretty nice actually. A little light. I'd say that if I pop one of the keys off an original keyboard and just feel how that is, the paint on what's used on the keys is quite thick actually. I can feel it quite embossed on there, so it's a nice thick layer of paint. So hopefully won't wear off anytime soon. That feels quite nice. That's what we need to do, is get this all taken off here and put onto a keyboard. But what we're going to do is get an original Amiga key, and I want to feel what they feel like in the hand next to an original Amiga key. Okay, so what's actually really nice, they've included the different shapes of the return key for the newer and older versions of the keyboard. So that means for example, if you've got an older version of an Amiga 500, for example, or an Amiga 1200, which has the longer return key, doesn't have these blanking keys, you can go ahead and fit the longer one, which will fit. And then you've also included the actual same shape as the original shorter return key as well. Now, let's not forget, the original Amiga keyboard wasn't a two kind of process key, like on the Commodore 64, for example, where they've got the one color for the outside, and then for the letters, they put another color in, but it was molded into the key. This is all a one kind of color key with paint over the top. Well, I think they use transfers, but the transfers hold up remarkably well over the years, because obviously these are silly years old, that they're still not rubbed off. But as I said, it's a nice thick layer of paint they've got on there. Now, they feel, in all honesty, oh, okay. So I already have an issue here. There's a broken key on this return key. So that's interesting. So what I'm going to have to do is contact their support and see how well that can get turned around. So what I've done, I've laid all these out. These are the larger keys that I've received in the actual keyboard. The only one that seems to have a manufacturing defect is the return key. But there was another thing that I noticed, that they shipped the two space bars in the same packet. And what seems to happen with these is that they're literally rubbing against each other and scratching themselves. So, I mean, I've got some kind of scratches on the keys here, and there's some scratches on here as well. There's some like light scratches on these bits too. The smaller spacebar has some very evident kind of wear marks where it looks like they've been scratched against each other, and there's some like scratch marks on these as well. So in the UK, these are sold by a company called Retro Passion. Even though they've got A1200.net on the box, they're resold by a company called Retro Passion. Now, I've already been in contact with Steve just regarding these keys, and he's assured me he will send me some replacements out later this week, which is great news. Here we have the A1200 Asahi limited edition case. Now, I went for dark, kind of slightly transparent green. I think it looks awesome. So let's have a quick look around the case cover. Not much really to see. Another thing, just samurai all over it, that they do. What's in the box? There is an A1200 top shell, A1200 bottom shell, trapdoor. There's 3 rear door traps. Now, I actually have my own plan for that. There's 4 pads and a floppy button and 8 screws. So let's slide it out and see what we've got. Just a brown box. Here we go. Oh, I think my my logo has escaped, or my badge. Let's get that out. Oh, look at that colour. It looks black, in all honesty, but there is definitely that hint of green to it. There we have the escaped sticker. That should go there, I would think. But that looks really nice, actually. Let's do a damage check, shall we? Let's make sure this is actually okay. So previously, before, we've had cracks in the cases, and obviously with the keys we've just received. But this actually looks okay. I can't see any marks or damage to the case. There's some bits and pieces that are inside that are falling out. But let's pop it open and have a look what we've got. Yes, there we go. Okay. So it's quite nice. It's got some signatures on the actual case. Looks like the people that were involved in designing and getting it all done to market. It's good that they actually include a vented trapdoor cover, because I did actually print one off years ago for my original 1200, because I had this Viper accelerator card inside it, and I overclocked it a little bit by changing the actual clock speed crystal, but I wanted to get more kind of air into it. That I printed my own trapdoor cover off, but it's nice that they have that. I'm not using this anymore, but that will go into something else. But it's nice. It's got manufactured by A1200.net on there as well. But what else have we got here? We've got some, seems to be, not sure what that's for. It's a white sticker. Not 100% sure what that's for. And there are some little white round stickers here. As I said, we've got this as well. We've got the badge sticker. We've got a, looks like a VGA cover for the back. We've got some risers. There's the ejector, well, there's a button for the floppy disk. Now, I wonder if that will fit my one, because that's very similar to an A500's floppy button. But we'll have a look. I'm sure it'll be fine. So no, that's the VGA one. So maybe that's DVI, if you wanted to have DVI on the back. So here we have my Amiga 1200. So we're going to take this apart and start to fit it into the new case with the keys. So let's get this all undone. So as you can see, I've got a PI stuck in the bottom of here. But this is a cover that I printed off many years ago. But there's my PI 32, or Storm 32. Now I've got some ideas what to do with this, and I'll show them later on. But it's quite a really inexpensive accelerator card for your Amiga 1200, which works really nicely. And I've got a nice little piece of plastic here to stop any shorting out. And I actually scavenged this off an Amiga 500 keyboard from the back where the actual PCB is. So we're going to reuse that again. So let's start and get this all undone. So we're just going to revisit the floppy disk eject button, and it doesn't look like this matches. Now I do have some other Amiga 1200s that I'm going to get out and see if it does match any of them, but to me this looks like an Amiga 500 eject button, and if it is, it's not going to be compatible for my needs. So as you can see, this is an Amiga 500 floppy disk button. I've had to pull out this Amiga 500. The floppy drive from an Amiga 500 isn't compatible with an Amiga 1200 because they're too deep. I have contacted Steve at Retro Passion, and they do not supply the Amiga 1200 buttons with the case, but they are happy to print them off and supply particular buttons for particular versions of the floppy disk. But I have a 3D printer, and I will go ahead and do that myself. Now that I've got the motherboard in, there is something else I want to do, which, as I have the PI Storm 32 for this motherboard, I've created a little backing plate because I've looked at the other backing plates you can get. It wasn't really what I was after. So what I did, I've 3D modelled a backing plate which will have HDMI and as well as the SDcard reader on it as well. Now that's for the white case, but what I've done is I've also created this. So this has, it's dark, so it will match in with the actual colour of the case as well, but you've got your HDMI in there, and you've got your micro SD card in there as well. And what we will do, we will mount that in there and have the cables coming around here so they can actually get to the PI Storm. But what I'll do, I'll put the SLI file up for this so you can download this yourself. I'll put in a link to where I got these from so you can get the exact ones and make your own if you wanted to. Okay, so I made a slight error on the purchase for this connector. So what I've had to do is just chop off a little bit of this on the side, just so it makes sure it slots into there okay. And it seems to be okay if I do that. So what we do, we'll slot that in. There we go, that slots in. So what then we need to do is route this cable around so it goes through up here without getting too much in the way. I think we can do that with no problems. So next steps is to take all these keys off this keyboard and put the black keys on. So I will do that in super fast speed. So here we have the keyboard reinstalled into the case. I've put the cables for the floppy drive back in again. Now there is one thing we have to do, and that's grab the power LEDs. So let's grab this and put this to the side. So as you know, the Amiga has the power LEDs on here, and we're going to go and take them off here and put them into the new case. And that's really simple, just 2 screws, and out it pops. Let's grab the new case. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is make sure that lines up okay. Oh. Well, that's interesting. That's looks fine from this angle. Go from this angle, and they are not lining up with a case at all. So does that mean that this is deeper, or are these playing a part? And the original depth is 92.3 millimeters, and the depth of these ones is 99.3 millimeters. So as I don't want them to be sitting too low down, I'm going to take this to my workshop, just take a little bit of plastic off these so they sit in the correct location for me. Right, you join me back after doing a little bit of work on this area. I've had to take a bit of plastic off both sides as well as the standoffs here because they were all too long. So now when we put the LEDs in, they actually sit in there quite nicely instead of being too deep. So here we have the Amiga all back together again, and we've got the cables plugged in, we've got the keyboard plugged in, the PI's in there with the nice little protector in there to stop shorting out. So we've got to put all this back together again now. So what do? We will plug it into the header. There we go. And then we will make sure the cables don't get jammed on anything. Let's switch it around. That looks so good. Look at that. That looks absolutely awesome. And that green tint to the actual case, it looks nice. Let's get this swished over and let's get all the screws back in again, shall we? So ladies and gentlemen, there we have the Amiga 1200. That's all been redone, black keycaps in this lovely kind of translucent blacky green. It just looks so nice. It's very hard to try and get you to see the green, that it's just very, very, very nice. Obviously my little custom back plate here for the HDMI and micro SD card, which we can now plug the OS into here for. Lovely. That looks absolutely awesome. So just a little thing to add to this. I do have an S-video input in my Amiga 1200, and the original Amiga 1200 modulator port is quite a large one, but on the revised version on this new case, they've actually made it smaller. So if you do have S-video, you will probably maybe have to change your S-video plug for a deeper socket S-video so it'll actually fit, because my one will not fit into this smaller socket. So you join me on the next day, and it is a gorgeous looking thing. Now, just really one thing with the case is a little bit of a niggle, and it's the eject button. If you're selling an Amiga 1200 case, it should come with either a very standard Amiga 1200 eject button or the option for the different ones. Now, I know that's probably a big ask, but shipping it with an Amiga 500 button, which wouldn't fit any Amiga 1200 when you're selling an Amiga 1200 case, that kind of is a bit of a niggle for me. I can fix that myself because I have 3D printers, and I've been able to fix that by printing my own button. And I will throw the links to the buttons I found online that you can print yourself, or if you've got one of these cases and you're stuck with an amber button, you will have the STL files that you can actually print for your model of disk drive. Another little thing is the keyboard, even though it's a thing of beauty, and I am receiving the replacement keys for the ones that are damaged, thanks Steve. There is just a little niggle for me, and some of the larger buttons don't make the satisfying click when you push them into the holders. Now what that means is I can get my fingers and I can just lift the key off, and they don't fit. They don't make that click noise. Now all the little ones made that really satisfying click noise. Now you could probably fix that and remedy that by putting just a little bit of dab of Loctite on each one that is a little looser, and that will stop them from popping off. But a couple of times now where I've opened the case, some of the larger keys which are close to the edges just pop off because they don't make that satisfying click noise. But it's a very small thing, and it's in a very gorgeous looking case. And with retro communities, we're lucky that we've actually got companies and people that are willing to go the extra mile and make stuff for these aging consoles, which have computers which have been forgotten about, apart from us retro nuts, which like to treat ourselves and buy something pretty. Now, before you guys say, hey Mike, what are you doing with those keycaps and the old case off your Amiga 1200? Do you fancy throwing it my way? Let me just show you something. So obviously we've got this lovely reshelled Amiga here. And as you know, I had 3 Amigas previously. So that's one of them. And oh my gosh, that's the other one. That needs some sun brightening on that bad boy. So as you know, I had 3 Amigas. But what you didn't know is I may have had an Amiga 1200 motherboard lying around, and an Amiga 1200 floppy drive, and an A500 keyboard, which I've modified for the Amiga 1200 by replacing the membrane. So all the parts that I took off that Amiga are now on this spare parts Amiga. And I've even shoved the accelerator card in there as well. And it's a fully functioning motherboard because I only repaired it literally probably about 2 weeks ago. But I now have 4 Amiga 1200s. Don't tell the other half. But now, without further ado, it's time for the beauty shots! So that brings me to the end of this video, and if this was something that you found interesting and actually may have helped you out in thinking, are you going to purchase these and what you would expect and little bits and pieces you would have to do, then please think about whacking the like and subscribe. I paid for all this stuff myself. There is literally no sponsorship here, and it would help me out as a channel, and you could see my face even more. Heaven forbid. That, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next video. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you the 4 Amiga song. He had a dream in a room full of screens, 4 Amiga 1200s running clean. He booted them up and he watched them glow. In a world of pixels, he'd steal the show. 4 Amigas side by side, in his world he'd take the ride. With a floppy disk and a joystick slide, he'd never let the future slide. He'd code all night and he'd game till dawn. In his little corner he'd carry on. No need for a PC and no need for a Mac, just his 4 Amigas and he never looked back. 4 Amigas side by side, in his world he'd take the ride. With a floppy disk and a joystick slide, he'd never let the future slide. He talked about the BBS days, in his heart they'll always stay. With his 4 Amigas he'd find his way in the digital dawn of yesterday. 4 Amigas side by side, in his world he'd take the ride. With a floppy disk and a joystick slide, he'd never let the future slide. He had 4 Amigas and they never let him down. A king of the pixels in a retro town.